All right. Oh, whoops. Let me get the whole thing in the frame. So, good afternoon. It is Thursday, August 19th, 2021. And here's what we're looking at for today. Most of the day was spent in this upward channel. The overnight highs and lows are in yellow, with that midline coming into play right here. So we got a break of this channel, and we had two legs down right here. Really, it was, you could draw it like one leg of correction, and then this right here was the second leg of correction. You can see we got a break in it, a move to a new low, which made like a third leg, and then we got a reversal. And you know what? I'm actually going to delete this trade. We got a reversal here, and now we're going long, trending up again. So really, you had to draw a lot of volatility, man. It feels good to have all this volatility, and you had to be drawing your trend lines, your short-term trend lines, if you want to get any trades. It is quite possible that I missed something in here. There's a lot of volatility, but I was at the chart pretty much all morning. So I think I saw a lot. I accidentally moved my trend line. I took I've been sitting at the chart pretty much all day, so I took a lot of trades. We'll go over them. Ended up being profitable, but I don't know. We'll talk about that later. Let's just look at the trades I've marked. And you really, 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 really had to be patient this morning. So yeah, we trended down all night pretty strong, and got a bounce down here. You can see we couldn't get to the bottom of what I had drawn as the trend line. And we got a bounce right here, and just might have been a measured leg. I forget. I didn't see any measured move down, but regardless, we bounced right here. Boom. Make a leg down to a new high, or I mean to a new low. Maybe that's like the second leg of correction. Not too sure. And what this could be, because we had a massive sell-off yesterday. This trend up that we've been in all day, that could just be one leg of correction, and we could get another leg down, or anything could really happen. But back to business. So we come in at 5 o'clock around here. Looks like first entry. You know what? I think you might be able to go long here. And that's probably where I meant to put this box. Oh, no. Okay, I see. You probably could have gone long here on a failed second entry short. You see that? And this turns out to be the trend line of the day, actually, and that bounced off it right there. So we get a break of this downward channel. First entry, failed second entry, a higher low. Oof, that looks pretty good. And you know what? I think that's why I probably marked this, is because if you see that, and this works, and then you get this, that looks like a second entry as well. First entry, second entry. I've been talking a lot about these, though, when they don't break lower. I don't know. It's really got to be like a judgment call. But I feel like you probably could have gone long somewhere in here. But I didn't. I held off. And we hit this level of resistance right here. There's no setup. And you get just a first entry. Unfortunately, since it's a first entry, we can't go long. Even though this looked like a pullback, that might work. If you draw it off the highs, it looks pretty accurate, and it matches up with this low. So, yeah, I had to skip that. That's around the opening. First entry, failed second entry short here, but it's far from the trend line and the EMA. Then we get a pullback to the EMA. First entry, second entry. But it's a second entry long, and the signal bar is no good. And I was like, oh, this kind of looks like a failed second entry long, but the bias was up. So I held off there, which I was happy about, because the bias is up. So I saw that, and I think I got a little too confident. And later in here, yeah, I got trapped right there. I held off. I was like, no, don't go short here. Stick with the longs. And not predicting that. That being confirmed to not go short here, I think that just boosted my ego. We start going up. I'm thinking I can see it perfectly. First entry, failed second entry short. Oh man, if you have that trend line drawn, I think you can go. I think you can go long there. On a failure, the signal bar doesn't matter as much. And look, that's true. So you know what? Let me mark that. I do like that. Yeah, and I skipped that. And then, oh wait, you know what? That's not a failed second entry short. This is the failed second entry short. So that's why you can't go long there. Sorry about that. So yeah, failed second entry short right here. I think this you can make blue. If you have that trend line. And first entry, second entry, this is where I got trapped. I thought, it's a second entry. Look, we're in a crazy uptrend. Doesn't touch the EMA. I think that's a killer. And these bars stacked up. That's 4 bars stacked up. 1, 2, 3, and this one's a doji. So that officially makes it congestive. And yeah, I got trapped. But anyway, come up here. That's probably a failed second entry as well. So maybe you go, I don't know, maybe you go long there. Then we get a second entry long right here off the EMA. You can see prices are being held by the EMA. They're rejecting off of the EMA. That's what you can see. 1, 2, 3. So I think you can go long there. We form this congestion. Unfortunately, no entries in here. We break out. And we start trending down. That looks like a first entry long, but it wasn't. So when we get that first entry, second entry, that looked like a failure to me, and it was at the overnight highs after we broke out of the overnight highs. I'm pretty sure I took this trade. And it's aggressive because we've been trending up all morning, but it's a lower high off the and it's a reversal pattern off of the overnight highs. So, and then you get another first failed second entry long. This is aggressive too. This looks like yesterday. Am I looking at yesterday? This looks like that trend down late yesterday. But no, this is today. Another failed second entry long. This is aggressive. It's far from the EMA, but this is a very strong move down. I'm not sure if I took that or not. We bounced down here, and that's off the trend line for the day. So if you have that trend correctly drawn, I think you can take this higher or low. And that would have been a great move. I did not see that. Then we form this congestion, and you might go short here. It's counter trend because we broke up into this congestion, but it looked very appealing. But we get a second entry long back into congestion. I like that entry. And then we get this. I looked at this as a double bottom. So then you get a first entry, failed second entry short. I really like that. And I took that entry, and I like it a lot. I actually entered on a limit order right here. You probably would have wanted to enter on a limit order like down here. But I did like that on the engulfing bar too. You can see it gaps up and then goes down. So yeah, I looked at that as a failed second entry short, and then you get another first failed second entry short, and that confirms this trend channel. So I think if you're reading that right, it's not that aggressive. If you're just taking that as a second entry, failed second entry short, and you don't have this trend line, then I think that's very aggressive. But if you see all that, that's reason to go to go long. And what about this? This, because you might have had, I don't know, maybe you would have had your congestion drawn a little differently, and maybe this is why I had that. Yeah, I think that's why I had that, because I had my congestion drawn like that at first. But I think these two areas of congestion, I'm not sure that they had much influence. I'm not sure this one had much influence over this one. It had some influence over it, but not enough for me to think that this was the top of the range, because I felt like this was the top of the range. So anyway, that's a really good move up. Just form some minor congestion, and you can see we don't quite make it to the larger daily trend and this shorter term trend. So be very wary of going long. And I got trapped because I just felt invincible, and I saw all this, that it wasn't hitting the top of the trend lines that were in play, and I see this, but I still go long. Maybe it was like right here, and I got trapped, and then it goes higher, and then we get this repeat pattern of this right here, this failed second entry short right here. So I took that trade. That's aggressive for sure, because we just had a break, but I knew they were going to make an attempt to go higher at some point. This one failed, and this one's above the EMA, so I like that one better. This is like congestive. Breakout after making this double top, kind of looks like a triple top. 1, 2, 3. Breakout, failed breakout first, failed second entry long below the EMA. I like this entry. I'm starting to see why Mack tells beginners not to take failures, because they're harder to spot and you have to be more precise in where you enter on them. So I'm learning that, and I think maybe I am entering into too many failures. Let me delete these trend lines. But it's really cool when you spot them, and they give you really strong moves. But anyway, this right here begins a new trend, and when you get this lower high, look, we get a break of the trend up for the day, okay? And then we come here, we form this downward trend, and we get this lower high. I think if you spotted that, I think you can take that. I think it's just a lower high. I don't think it's a second entry of any sort. Yeah, first entry, second entry. I think you can take this lower high if you're reading the chart correctly. We'll see what Mack has to say about that. First entry failed, second entry long, probably too far from the EMA. Plus that would confirm your trend channel down here, so you're not trying to go short into the bottom of that channel. We get a break, big leg down, break leads to an overshoot, and then we break up into this congestion here, and looks like we probably would have had an entry right here. I was like, since the bias was down for the past like hour and a half, I was looking at this as you could go short here, and I went short here on a first failed second entry long, which, yeah, it was a failure, but it was a small failure because there might be a reversal coming. We had this break and an overshoot, and this was just the two legs of correction from the overall daily trend. So I don't think, I took this failure, which worked, and then I took this, which had a lot of momentum, and it made like a double top here, and this bar very quickly moved down, so I went short beneath this one. Has a failed breakout of congestion, and these both worked, but I think they're too aggressive, and I think they are not high enough probability to be taking them regularly. So that's what I saw. We'll see here. No, this is just the higher low. You can't go long here. So prices are going higher again. Oh yeah, you can see this too. One leg up, two legs up, damn near a perfect measured move. really close to these that peak right there, or whatever that, what's it called? I forget what the opposite of a peak is. So yeah, I hope everyone had a good day. Well, I got to go through my trades now. And I actually took 2 trades after the video yesterday that Mac marked on his chart because I was just watching the volatility. It was crazy. We get a this must be a failed second entry long, first entry, failed second entry long right here. This one was I would say this one was more aggressive because it's far from the EMA. And then you get a first entry, second entry short here. That's not as aggressive because it touched the EMA, because we had a very strong sell-off yesterday. But that was yesterday. Let's take a look at today, and let's get to that place where I was trapped early on. Okay, so I think I've seen these trades go by. This one I was like, no, don't enter here, and I was right, so that boosted my ego. And then here, first entry, failed second entry short. But I disregarded the rule that said signal bar doesn't matter as much, and I think I was probably a little worried about that signal bar. And I'm not sure if I had my trend line drawn correctly, but if I did, this is close enough. I'd probably take it. So I think missing all that made me eager, and you're sitting there I've been sitting there since 5 a.m. Hour and 53 minutes, haven't taken an entry. That's just a skill you got to build. You got to get used to not entering. And I entered here on a doji that formed congestion and got trapped out. So here, look, the move was pretty strong. Small correction. This is definitely aggressive, but we bounced at the overnight highs, and it is a first failed second entry long. And yeah, only thing I don't like here is this bar had a lot of momentum, and I think I just got excited and entered one tick below this bar, not realizing that this was supposed to be my signal bar. So I got a little nervous there, but doesn't matter. Hit all my targets. And then we get a first entry, failed second entry long here, so no problems with that. It's aggressive, but it's according to the rules. What's this? Okay, yeah, I just treated this like a failed breakout of congestion, counter trend. It made a double bottom with this too, I'm realizing. Well, triple bottom, because I looked at this as a double bottom. This and this. So then first entry, failed second entry short. You get a nice bearish bar. It gaps up and then goes down to fill people who went short beneath that, and then it engulfs it. So this was like, I with the highs being up here, even though that's plenty of room to scalp out, I was like, I should probably enter on a limit order. So I got one tick in my favor, and that was after this bar right here went down, so I wasn't too worried because I entered up here. So I would have seen if it ticked lower than this bar. But yeah, that ends up closing really strongly here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I actually entered on this after this bar formed. I was like, okay, I really like this pattern, but now that this bar formed and it tried to go lower, let me try and get in on a limit order. So that's what happened, I remember. So yeah, that was a good entry with trend. All right, so look, man, after prices have been trending up since like 2 a.m., we get a break, okay? And some congestion. I'm like looking for an entry right away, which is just bad behavior. That's a 7-hour trend that just broke, okay? You got to be patient and wait for an entry. I wasn't patient. I'm like, oh, second entry, failed second entry short. First entry, failed second entry short is what I'm looking at. And they just trap a bunch of longs who came in too early, and I was one of them. Now, off this trend line, this short-term trend line, you get a first failed second entry short. This closes above the EMA. This one closed below the EMA. Another thing to keep in mind. I'm not saying these are tell-all signs, but it's things stacking in your favor. So that's another reason why this one worked. I went long with the momentum, I went long a tick above this, just because there's momentum. All right, here we're going sideways. We make this double top, kind of like a triple top, as I said before. Yeah, and then here, these two trades, they're just too aggressive. Too aggressive. And I didn't have my trend line drawn right. After, you can see clearly this break, overshoot. So you wouldn't be surprised if prices reversed and they break up into this congestion. So you should be looking for long entries. But I went short here and here. This one I like better, but this one, nah. It's a failure. First entry, second entry, going into the EMA. So just too aggressive. And here you get a failed second entry short that would have worked. That looks good too. So that's what I saw today, and those were my trades for the day. I hope everyone had a great day, and I'll be back tomorrow.